Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekend show. I'm C.L. Bryant, and this is the C.L. Bryant Show, emanating from the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City, and streaming nationwide throughout the greatest land on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. I want to welcome aboard our friend not only in southern Arkansas and East Texas, but throughout the Gulf Coast of America. Also, you folks over in Wilmington, North Carolina, there with Bishop and Miss Maxine, want to welcome you aboard as well. WLTT 1180 there in North Carolina. Also, we're part of that family. And, of course, the flagship station right here in Shreveport, 710 Keel of the C.L. Bryant Show. Now, folks, listen. Final Four. That's where we are right now with Final Four. Counting down to the final two, Monday and Tuesday. Weekend, it's going to be a total blitz of both sides. It reminds me so much of 1980. Reagan, Carter. Reminds me so much of that. I had, full disclosure, I had cast my first vote back in 76 for Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I cast my first vote as a voting Democrat, as a voting citizen for Jimmy Carter. And I voted for Jimmy again. I sure did, because I was still wrapped up in that Democrat philosophy. I was voting Carter. But Ronald Reagan was a force to be reckoned with. Nobody thought he could be. I can tell you one thing, Trump is turning into a force that people had written off, but he is surging. This is what the Dems are trying to do to him, and watch over the weekend. Follow the news cycle over the weekend. Check in every once in a while to the news cycle if you're not a news junkie like I am. But if you check into the news cycle over the weekend, you're going to find that they're trying to paint Trump as risky. He's risky. That has been Hillary's mantra. They did the same thing to Reagan. They did the same thing to Reagan. They made him seem risky. Didn't work. The polls back in 1980, I was checking out Pat Goodell's commentary on this. Pat Goodell was a pollster for Jimmy Carter back in the 80s. And Pat was saying that the polls were tight on that Friday and that Saturday. And on Saturday, in fact, Reagan and Carter were running neck and neck. It was just a dead heat for the presidency of the United States. But then, on Sunday, something amazing happened. The blue-collar people, the working man, the middle-class people, began thinking about what really made them ticked off. They started thinking about our country. They started thinking about the load they were pulling. They started thinking about what really ticked them off. And they also had in mind that those Iranians weren't acting right either. Oh, yeah, it was a problem back then, too. Iran was a problem back then, too. And they're still a problem. Now, it's almost a photo of what happened in the 80s when you look at what's going on in our nation now. 400,000 people have been dropped or have dropped out of the workforce. Are you aware of that? But yet the unemployment numbers, I'm talking about just last month. I'm not talking about overall. There's millions who are not working. In fact, nearly a third of our American population is not working. But yet when they send out the unemployment numbers, 4%. Talk about dishonest. That's the way it's been this whole 8 years. It's been dishonest. Carter's polling began to sink on that Sunday. Carter's polling began to sink on Sunday. Don't know if that's going to happen this time, but I do know that Trump is running strong. in places that he was not running strong in just 4 days ago. He's surging. And folks, I can tell you this, that if in fact we have a workforce of blue-collar people and middle-class people began to think like they did back in 1980, that, hey, wait a minute, these last 8 years ain't been that good. Carter only had 4 years. Obama has had 8. And you can say what you want, but he only got the last 4 because America did not want to vote out the first black president of the United States. There, I said it. But it's true. They didn't want to vote him out. Things were bad. Black unemployment was up, as it still is. Black home buying was down, as it still is. The inner cities are in shambles then and now. But he was reelected because America was not going to do it. They just weren't going to do it. They were not going to vote out the first black president. They didn't want to deal with that. Should have, but they didn't. Now we have to have the courage of our convictions to choose somebody who, if they win the presidency, talking about DJT, Donald Trump, then Black Lives Matter, along with the Ku Klux Klan, along with Al Sharpton, along with Glenn Beck, everybody will continue to be able to have their piece of the sidewalk in the sun. All of them. America will be able to coexist together because that's what America does. We have done it all along. But if Hillary's elected president, I can guarantee you one thing. People like myself, Rush, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, will better take cover because they're coming after us. And the Al Sharptons of the world will have a free reign. I'm going to talk a little bit more to you about Al, the Reverend Sharpton, when I return. CL. Back on this Friday, gateway to the weekend, here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, streaming live throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. And you folks in Wilmington, North Carolina, want to thank you for adding us to the lineup there at WLTT 1180 there in Wilmington. And I want to go ahead now and bring in one of the native sons of our state and of our nation, and that is none other than Mike Johnson, who is running to replace our good friend John Fleming, there, District 4, House of Representatives in the United States House of Representatives. And thank you so much, Mike, for being on with me here.
Hey, my
evening.
friend, always a pleasure.
Mike, how's the race going, man?
Very well, CL. We're finishing strong. We're really excited. You know, we've been at this for many, many months, traveling the 15 parishes of the 4th Congressional District. It's about a third of the state by land area, so it's a lot of turf to cover. But, man, I tell you what, we're really excited about the enthusiasm. Our message has resonated, and we feel like we're going to finish this thing very strong. We're looking really good going into Election Day.
A lot of people really love your message of Constitution, of returning our nation to the Constitution and to the principles that made us great in the first place. But, Mike, there's a question that I have to ask you. Are we facing a constitutional challenge, even a crisis, in this particular election, both presidentially and is in the House and Senate?
Well, I hope not. Look, I've been out traveling around just talking to the people. In every parish, I think, in our district, there's been a record turnout of early voting, or at least close to a record in every single one. And so much as we can tell, CL, those are conservative, principled voters. I mean, these are constitutional conservatives and people who are just fed up with the system, who are going to the poll. And I think that's true really across the country, and even in many of these swing states. I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised on Election Day, and we might be able to avoid a constitutional crisis, because I don't think Hillary's going to get there.
I certainly hope that you are right, and I am believing that with you. Speaking of believing, let's speak to the evangelicals out there. Is religious liberty at risk and at stake as well? You can speak to that well.
Well, my dear brother, as you and I say all the time, I mean, this is really the battle of our lifetime. You know, if you can take religious freedom away from a people, their political freedom soon follows. That's how tyrants take over, is they censor and silence the Christian voice. Let's just be very specific about it. That's what happens. And so, look, our religious liberty is imperiled. You know, I've spent 20 years in the courts defending religious freedom and the sanctity of human life and America's founding principles, the Second Amendment, and all these freedoms are hanging by a thread right now. And, you know, this presidential election, you know, you talk about elections having consequences, and you say this all the time. It's true. I mean, the next president can appoint at least 2, maybe as many as 3 or 4 Supreme Court justices. I mean, that decides everything. I mean, a president's appointments to the Supreme Court is by far the longest-lasting legacy of that presidency, and it matters so much. The stakes really have never been any higher than they are right now.
So many people believe, Mike, that you are the champion of all 3 of those topics that we have just discussed. And we also, so many that I have talked to, also believe that you are the best voice for that. Just in a nutshell, tell us why on Tuesday, November 8th, we need to go to the polls. Those of you who have not already voted need to go to the polls and vote for Mike Johnson.
Well, I would summarize it in one phrase, CL. We've been saying this throughout the course of the campaign. Record matters more than rhetoric. You know, I mean, during an election cycle, every candidate gets up and says everything that they think the people want to hear, because they look at the demographics. They know our congressional district is one of the most conservative in the country, and so they know they have to say certain things in order to try to get elected. But I've said all along, don't listen to the rhetoric of any candidate. For that matter, don't even listen to what I'm saying, right? Go and look at the records of what all of us have actually been doing for the last 10 or 20 years. That's the only way to really tell how someone's going to serve you in Congress. Are they going to go in there and truly fight for our core conservative principles or not? And I think you need to look for scars on your candidates these days. You need to look for those who are used to taking arrows for the cause, because then you know that you have a fearless fighter. And that's what we are, CL. We do it for the cause. We do it for our 4 children and all of our children and our grandchildren, because we're deeply concerned about the America that they're going to inherit if we don't stand up and fight right now. And we're willing to do it. And,
Looking at the scars of a warrior, Mike Johnson, who has been in the battle and has won many fights as far as religious liberty is concerned and standing on the principles of the Constitution of America. Look at the scars that he has on his person as a warrior for the cause. Mike, I do wish you well. God bless you and God keep you. Folks, go out and vote. Hey, on Tuesday, November 8th. God bless and keep you, Mike. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Yeah, folks, let me tell you something. This is it. This is the crossroads. You got to choose. You got to choose, and you might as well choose somebody who knows what the fight is about and why we're doing what what we're needing. We need someone who is going to do what is necessary for us to hold on to the republic. It's at stake. And when we talk about holding on to the republic, we're talking about, folks, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The people that we elect to office come from us. And it is by us that they have authority to win and speak on our behalf. A government of the people. They come from us. And they are given their authority by and from us. What we are at risk of losing is that Republican type of government. Republic type of government. I'll be right back. I'm going to tell you who hasn't said a peep or hadn't been heard from during this campaign when I return. I'm CL. Yeah. Friday here in the jeweled cities of the architects. And I certainly hope that you're doing a little bit better than TV dinners this afternoon. Hey, I guess they're okay through the week, but go out and do something on Friday. Go to Grub Burger. Grub Burger would be a great place to stop by and tell them CL sent you, and you get yourself a free homespun, homemade milkshake. Just tell them CL sent you. One of my business associates told me that his granddaughter couldn't wait to go to Grub Burger and tell him that CL sent her for her homespun, homemade milkshake. Take your children over there too. It's a great place to eat a burger. Now, there are some faces, there are some people who you haven't seen attacking Donald Trump in this political season. And there's a reason why they haven't attacked him in this racially charged political season. And they have had every opportunity to chime in and attack him. But you haven't heard from them. I want to tell you who they are. Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. Have you heard a peep out of them? Have you heard them visible anywhere? Do you know why you haven't heard a peep out of them? It's because Donald J. Trump can produce canceled checks that he has written to them. He has contributed when he was in his business world. They can't call him a racist. If they call him a racist, he produces the check to show that, hey, I helped you guys do what the heck it is you do. Now, again, Trump admits to the fact that, hey, he has spread it around when he was a businessman, because as a businessman, you want to be friendly with everybody. And he was friendly with that group of folks. They haven't said anything. You know why? Because he's not a racist. He's not. He's a businessman, yeah. He makes tough business decisions, yeah. And sometimes you suffer the slings and arrows for making tough business decisions. Any of you small businessmen out there, if you're a manager out there, if you're running a department out there, if you're running a household, you know it's a business. You got to make tough decisions. Not everybody's going to be happy at one point or another. That's the way it works in the business world. Not everybody's going to be happy with you. And somebody's always going to find some fault in you. Especially if you start running for president of the United States, governor, mayor, or whatever. They look back and they say, well, we saw him at dinner with these people. It was business. Now, this is the business that we must be about right now. The business that we must be about right now is hiring somebody and understand that's what it is. We're down to the final four. And we have two candidates left for the job of president of the United States. In this corner, you have Hillary Rodham Clinton. Oh, she has a long laundry list of things that she claims to have accomplished. But to tell you the truth, I don't know if she's ever created one job. I don't think so. Maybe so. Maybe she has hired people for a government position that she needed to fill in her post as a government official. But as far as creating a private sector job, Clinton, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if she's ever had to balance, a checkbook, a company checkbook. I can tell you this. DJT has, Donald J. Trump has, and he's surging. There is coming a time right now in this election when you can look back in history and see that this very same thing happened when Reagan was running against Carter. And no, I am not comparing Trump to Reagan in any shape or form as far as that is concerned. He's not Reagan. And he may not be the savior of America, but I tell you what he is. He's a stay of execution for us from the progressive liberals. Oh, he's a stay of execution, because we are definitely in line for the progressive liberal executioner if we fail in this task. And now, to all of you Christian conservatives, evangelicals out there who did not go and vote for Mitt Romney, I want to remind you that choices have those choices of you and people like you. And I'm a Christian evangelical conservative myself, but I tell you what I did. I voted. I chose somebody. He didn't win. But if we'd have had the rest of us doing what I did, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. And I've said it time and time again. We wouldn't be having this conversation because Mitt Romney would be running for his second term in office. Barack Obama would not be in the picture. Hillary Clinton would not be in the picture because Mitt Romney had her dead to rights on the debate stage saying that she was responsible for Benghazi. And Candy Crowley, do you remember? Do you remember the debate moderator, Candy Crowley? She bailed Barack Obama out on that issue. It threw Mitt off his game, and from that point on, the polls turned against him. The deck was stacked then, and the amazing thing that's happening with the Trump campaign is that he has been telling us this deck is stacked. And it looks as though the American people are beginning to wake up and see just how stacked they are. And old Trump is unstacking them. He's unstacking them in places like Michigan. We had on two Michiganders yesterday. One a friend of mine, real close friend of mine, Shane Hernandez. And then a Michigan Republican up there. They are saying that they are seeing movement in places like Michigan. And, you know, if he can flip a blue state, he can win. Now, the journey is still a tedious one. He has to win Florida. He must win North Carolina. And he's running even. He's running even in both of those states because the polls have him well within the margin of error. And you know the polls are skewed against him. He very well could be running ahead. Wins Florida, wins North Carolina, flips Michigan, takes Nevada, holds on to Arizona. You need to learn how to say President Trump. It can be done. And I can guarantee you that the Clintonites are scared to death that he will do it. I'll be back in a minute.
There must be some kind of way out of here. Say the joker to the thief. There's too much confusion.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL back on this Friday, the weekend show. It will re-air tomorrow and then on Monday. And we're at the Final Four right now, final 4 days, counting down to a major event that's happening on Tuesday, the 8th of November. We will choose the next president of the United States, and one of the facets that have become very important in this presidential election that many may actually take for granted, especially the progressive liberals, and that is the millennial vote. The millennial vote of young, educated Americans, those who will make a difference in the future. Joining me now is Heather Gillard.
Hey.
And
yes.
Glad you're here with me. And thank you so much for being here, Heather.
Well, thank you for having me.
Heather, you're there with some really dear friends of mine, Charles Allen Page and Kathy Sue Hartkoff, and I certainly hope that they're treating you right.
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course, yes.
And
we actually had a really good turnout, so it's exciting.
Those are young Republicans that are there with you, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Give us the encouraging news as to how young people, as far as young Republicans are concerned, give us the encouraging news as to how your outlook is for the future and this presidential election.
I think actually, in my opinion, there are a lot of young Republicans, young conservatives, I think more than people realize, that kind of understand where our country's headed. And so they know the impacts of their vote in this election. And I think a lot more of them, especially I think down here, are going to be turning out and voting for the Republicans, the whole Republican ticket, Donald Trump, than people expect, I think. So I'm encouraged by what I hear, especially from friends of mine and just other people that I'm talking to. So
very good.
I think, yeah.
What tell me this. When you think about what's at stake for you, 10 years down the road, where do you see yourself?
I don't know. Hopefully, I'm trying to kind of further my education, so to speak. And so hopefully I'll be in a better, not that I'm not in a good occupation position right now, but hopefully I'll be, I'll advance.
You'll be able to make money. You're hoping that you're making money. Don't be ashamed to say it. Say that I want to be prosperous in America, because that is what we're going to need you to be. As I grow older, the common sense is that you become wealthier. It just should work that way. And our young people, I think, may have lost sight of the fact that this is still the greatest wealth-producing engine the world has ever known, America.
Right.
Let me ask you this now. I was told that your major is that political science? Is that right? Did I miss that?
Yes, that's my undergraduate degree. Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you plan to do with that? What do you plan to do?
Well, actually, I kind of am sort of in the field that I plan to go into, which is law. And so I got a master's degree just kind of further. I wanted more than a bachelor's degree just kind of for my own personal edification. And so I like the law. I just like everything about it. It excites me, and that's just what I like. So that's what I do.
and looking at the law and the laws that are on the book the way it is, one of the things that's really big with an organization that I'm a senior fellow with is Freedom Works. And one of the things that we're really involved in is criminal justice reform.
Oh,
Give us your take, in your opinion, as to why justice and the sentencing process in this country should be and need be reformed, because that's probably going to be a part of your future work.
Well, I'm kind of not in that area. I'm kind of in the real estate side of it.
Oh,
so I
see.
know if I'm the one to speak to.
There's going to be crimes. There's going to be crimes committed there too.
Yes, for sure. But but yeah, so I don't know. I'm not exactly the one to speak to about sentencing and whatnot, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the best answer. When that's the best answer. But
Right.
this is the thing that I certainly want to encourage you. I want to applaud all of you who are there at the Young Republicans meeting that Freedom Works is putting on. We're doing something up here with Freedom Works tomorrow. And again, on behalf of the organization, the largest grassroots organization in the country, I have the privilege to speak on their behalf when I'm out and about of Freedom Works. I want to thank you all for being there, and thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, tell Kathy and Alan I said hey, and I'll see them tomorrow morning.
Okay, great. I will. Thank you.
Bye now. Yeah, folks, that's encouraging. That's encouraging. Young people engaged in the future of this nation politically. And let me tell you, Kathy, she is actually, Heather is actually in the right field. Real estate. It's got to, if Donald J. Trump becomes president of the United States, Kathy will have a mentor. And so will so many other young people in this country. They'll have a mentor. I'm not talking about any crazy stuff that some people are slinging around out there. I'm talking about somebody who has taken advantage of what America offers and has made money. And folks, what I said to her about her not being ashamed to say 10 years from now, I want to have some money. Young people, listen, all of you who have children and grandchildren, this is what you had better hope. In the next 10 years, you had better hope that your children are making money. That is the hope of America, is that they keep the faith that you hope, I trust, have put into them, and that they make money. Because, folks, I'm going to tell you, I know far too many of us who still is paying junior and sister's way through this world. It ain't right. It ain't right. They should want to make money. They should want to know how to make money. And I can't think of a better presidential candidate. I can't think of a better president who can tell them how to put together deals and make money in this country than someone who's made it. That's Donald J. Trump. I'm leaning heavy on the wagon today. Yes, I am. Time is of the essence. We vote on Tuesday. It's a Friday afternoon. Let's go do it. I'm CL. I want to thank each and every one of our sponsors for being there, and we're going to return with more of the CL Bryant Show here in just a minute. You folks in Wilmington, North Carolina, you're listening to the CL Bryant Show from the flagship station of the CL Bryant Show, 710 Keel.
We don't have no plastic LA friends. Ain't on the edge of no popular trend. Ain't never seen the inside of that magazine GQ.
Yeah, do you remember the time just a couple of weeks ago when Paul Ryan, Ted Cruz, and Jason Chaffetz had all but thrown Donald Trump under the bus? What gives me a strong indication that Trump is surging is because all three of them, I'm going to call them what they are, lily-livered, spineless Republicans, are now coming out and jumping on the Trump train. You know why they're doing it? They're doing it because they know that if they don't, there's going to be a backlash. And there's going to be a reckoning if, in fact, Trump wins without them. They don't want Trump to win without them. And now the race is close enough that even if he loses, at least they could say they gave it the old college try. Well, they should have been doing it all along. How come Trump had to say, if the Republican Party would help me, I could win? How come he had to say that? You know, it just makes me really, really angry to think about how these weasels, and yes, that's exactly what they must be called, because I'm going to tell you this, they can't be trusted. Oh, no. No, they can't be trusted. I'm going to, listen, you all know, this show's been on nearly 3 years now, but certainly it's been on throughout the election process for the President of the United States here. When the 17 were on the stage, when 17 candidates were running for the Republican nomination, the horse that I was riding was Ted Cruz. The horse that I was riding was Ted Cruz. And some of you actually took issue with me when I was pointing out to you why I was riding the horse with Ted Cruz and why I thought he was a better person or better candidate than Donald J. Trump. Ted got shot out of the saddle. The general that I was following in the battle got shot out of the saddle. I'm still, and the party is still needing to take the hill. The party is still need to advance our cause. So what did we do? What did I do? What did I tell you? I said I hadn't put on the Trump jersey yet because I was licking my wounds from being in battle trying to get Ted Cruz the nomination. Got wounded. But hey, when I recovered from those wounds, reformed and got behind the general that looked like he was going to take the day, and that was Donald Trump. I told you that when I put on the uniform as a Republican, as a conservative, and as a believing Christian, first as a believing Christian, I told you I was going to be in until the train stopped at whatever station it stopped at, and I'm hoping it stops at the White House. I'm going to ride this train until it stops. I'm going, whatever it takes to get the candidate elected, that's what I'm going to do, regardless of what anybody thinks or says or do. I'm doing this for me and my core values. Why? Because I have core values, and even though we have two candidates that we have to choose from, you have to choose the one who will best represent your best core values. And in this case, it's fiscally. In this case, it is judicially. And in this case, it is legislatively. That's why I want Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, because of those things. And I do believe that we as Christians will be able to hold him to his feet to the fire. Ben Carson assured me that he had given his heart to the Lord. Now, you secular folks out there, you may not really understand and go, but I know you Southern folks do. You can't live in the South without knowing what I'm talking about. Ben Carson assured me that's what he had done. And everybody who's done that at some point in time, if you're an adult, you know it takes a while for that to sort of permeate throughout you and make you a new creature. You're in the process of becoming. As long as I have been a Christian, I'm in the process. I'm still headed toward there. I'm still traveling toward what God wants me to be. And surely Donald Trump, being a new Christian, he's traveling toward what God wants him to be. And so, folks, let me tell you something. When I look at Paul Ryan, who is the Speaker of the House, when I look at Ted Cruz, who is a seasoned politician at this point in time, when I look at Jason Chaffetz, who actually spit out of his mouth and denounced Donald Trump, saying he was done, he was finished, all of them. And I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad they're back on the train. But what I am saying is this. I'm saying that they should have never gotten off of it, because this is a fight. This is a war that we are in. No, the general has never lost his mind. He's never been crazy. He's been himself this whole time, but his whole focus, Donald J. Trump, DJT, his whole focus has been about winning. And that's, at some point, Paul Ryan, Ted Cruz, Jason Chaffetz, and a whole bunch, Kelly Ayotte, they lost focus on what this was about. It wasn't about feelings. Wasn't about any of that. This was about winning. This is about winning the White House. They lost focus of that. Don't you lose focus of it. And I'm hearing more and more. I was doing a radio show about 2 hours ago now, Crawford Broadcasting out of Dallas, the Rush to Reason show up there. I was doing a show up there about 2 hours ago, and this was something that he said that really kind of, got me thinking. He was saying that there are so many people there of conservative persuasion who are saying that they just don't know. They just don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know if you can vote for it? What do you mean? You mean you would rather do nothing at all? You would not want to choose at all? Forgive me if I don't understand that. I don't understand just sitting there idly and watching this process that is been bought with blood. It's been bought with blood. And you don't participate because you got to choose this day. You have to choose how you're going to do it and where we're going to go. Sometimes, yeah, you don't have a best choice, but you got a choice, and you got to make it now. This is no time to appear to be dazed and confused. This is no time for it. I'll be back.
Been dazed and confused for so long, it's not true. Wanted a woman, never bargained for you. Lots of people talking, few of them know. Soul of a woman was created below.
CL back on this Friday evening. And I want to get 320-5335, 320-5335 is the number to call if you want to talk to me here. I'll take a few calls during this segment. On the line with me is Rodney. Rodney, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, friend?
I heard you talking about the person that couldn't make up their mind or didn't know if they could vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But, they need to make up their mind because this is a big election, and it's going to decide whether we kick the can down the road for our grandkids and our children to pick up the bill or even worse. I mean, we need to get off the entitlements and that making deciding who you're going to vote for. And figure out what's good for your family.
Let me ask you this. What do you make of people like Paul Ryan and those Republicans who at first, they weren't nowhere to be found. In fact, they seemed like they were hiding. Now all of them are out publicly endorsing Trump. Or were they cowards then or are they cowards now? How do you look at that, Rodney?
I think they're cowards now and possibly cowards then. They were too afraid of their political career when he wouldn't have been for them. I think that I made a call to Congressman Ryan and told him that, you need to look because your voting base may decide to leave.
Yeah,
because of what you're doing.
Exactly right. And I have a feeling, Rodney, there's still going to be a backlash, whether Trump wins or loses. I still think there's going to be a backlash. But just the same, man, I want to thank you for listening and thank you for calling.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, folks, you see, the citizenry, Americans, are seeing this. They're seeing it. Citizens like Rodney, citizens like you, they're seeing this. Who do we have, Michelle? John. On the line with me now is John. John, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, friend?
What's on my mind? I was thinking about Danny Lee Williams, but anyway, I've already voted for Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
I've been around pretty good while. I hadn't been really. I mean, it wasn't my first choice. My first choice was Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
But I've recently, I'd say in the last month or so, I've just gotten really excited about the possibility of a Donald Trump. I mean, you remember back with Ronald Reagan, how bad things were after Jimmy Carter, and we had the Iran hostage situation and things going on with Libya, and Mr. Reagan said, "You get me in office, and we're going to resolve these things." And almost immediately it got better. I just feel like that same thing's getting ready to happen.
And you know what, John? Nobody believed Reagan. Nobody gave him a chance. Everybody thought he was crazy or stupid or whatever. But no, he wasn't. No, he was not. You remember how people felt about Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
They thought he was scary to him. He was reckless and all that kind of stuff. They're saying movies. They're saying the same thing about Trump right now. And so I think he can shake it up. I think he will shake it up. And guess what, John? I think it needs to be shaken up. It needs to be shaken to the core. It really does. And so, go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. I was thinking about the similarity between a Ronald and a Donald.
I like it. Thank you so much for listening, brother.
Sure. Have a good day.
You too. Yeah, folks, there is a great similarity to all of that's going on. And if you'll just recall, they thought Reagan was just reckless. They thought he was dangerous. They thought Ronald Reagan was dangerous. And they tried to paint him as dangerous to America. No, it was morning again. It was morning again in America when Reagan became president. And I have a feeling that if we send a wrecking ball, and folks, you have to understand this. Yeah, I know that it may seem like it's okay to let things continue going down the way it's going down, the path that it's going down. No, it's not. No, it's not. We cannot continue down this road. We cannot continue down this road. This has to stop. Or we lose ourselves. Are you hearing me? I told you that a republic is a representative form of government that comes from the people. And we lose that if we put in Queen Hillary, who even the Russians think is evil. The Russians believe she's evil, but, hey, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to glorify the Russians because they are evil. I know they are. And you better know they are. So, anyway, who do we have? Scott, got about 1 minute. About 1 minute. Scott, what's on your mind, brother? Thank you for calling.
How are you, sir? It's
Doing-
Scott Crane. I did some video work for you. I've been a freelance journalist in Shreveport for 20 years.
Yeah, Scott, I remember you. Yeah,
yes,
man.
Yes, sir. Had a chance to meet Donald Trump when he brought his pageant to Shreveport 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Shreveport hosted the pageant, and one of the local national entertainment, Extra, wanted us to go interview him. So I was so excited.
Sure.
And we got there to interview him, and he just wasn't nice. And I mean, I'm thinking,
Trump wasn't nice to you?
Local crew or y'all national? And I said, we're local. He said, yeah, I thought so.
He belittled you.
he insulted us, and I'm thinking, you only have one chance to make a first impression.
What year was that?
Oh, wow. Late 90s.
Late 90s. Trump was a whole different person back then. He was a whole different person back then. You do believe that people do change, don't you?
Yes, sir.
He did. He has. I've met him on several occasions now. I've spent time with him. And let me tell you something.
You've met him in campaign mode, I believe.
Oh, well, not in campaign mode. I've met him in mode that is absolutely private. Got a chance, and I want you to understand what my background is. My background is people watching, body language. That's my background. And, Scott, let me tell you, the man that I've seen behind closed doors is the man that America will have in the Oval Office. I got to leave it there. I'm CL. I'll be right back. CL, back with you on this Friday, gateway to the weekend, Final Four weekend, headed toward November 8th, where we will choose the next president of the United States. Friends, choose wisely. On with me now is a first timer to the show, and I am honored to have with me now Pastor Aubrey Shines, who is the founder of G2G Ministries. I believe they're in Chicago, and he is also a degreed minister in theology, a master degree in divinity. He and I have that same master's. I certainly do appreciate you being on with me. Pastor Shines, thank you so much for being there.
Oh, great to be with you. And by the way, I'm actually in Tampa. My first began doing some ministry in the Cook County system there in Chicago. It's okay. I prefer Tampa, Florida, more than Chicago, right?
Yeah, I was in Tampa for 6 years, and all of my in fact, I have children there in Tampa at this very time. Pastor, tell us about your ministry. Tell us what you are currently involved in. What's on the hot plate?
Well, we find ourselves really engaging in the political process. I always have. I never have seen ever in Scripture, for those who have a Judeo-Christian background, there was never a separation or a divorce from leaders shaping the culture of their day. And so these are things that I have always been involved with. I produce quite a few videos, very short videos, but they have gone viral with Breitbart and some others as it relates to the political process, as it relates to cultural things that really help shape America. I think the real fortunate part in my case, I'm really, really honored that on every given Sunday I'm able to shepherd 22 to 23 various ethnic groups here in the Tampa area. It's a lot of fun, and I love seeing the minds of our young guys and girls begin to engage themselves, not just in the political process, but in our cultural process. Just a ton of fun doing this.
I want to I want Michelle to get your church address and where you all gather, where you meet, because I have a daughter in Tampa right now who is looking for a place to worship with people of like minds, and I really think and me like beliefs, and I really think this sounds like her altogether. But Pastor, I travel the country a lot, and I run into pastors who do not believe, like you and I do, that we should take a stand, that we should leave politics where it is, leave Caesar alone, and let's just minister to our people. What is short-sighted about that? What are they missing, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, they're missing, and I hope I don't sound condescending, they're missing a very simple biblical narrative. Again, one would only have to go as far as the book of Exodus, and they would see that Moses was given instructions to make sure that when you elect people, the type of mind, the individual, and again, anyone that studies just very basic theology, there's never been a time that God's people have not been involved in the political process. I recently did a video, and it was a response to something, and it's not a personal attack at all. But recently, Bishop Jakes made a comment about the Supreme Court. I produced a video addressing because his position is actually the question you just asked, and that is, it really doesn't matter. And I addressed it from the position of, imagine for just a moment, had the Supreme Court been left alone and the Quaker Church didn't involve itself, even with Dred B. Scott, the decision, blacks would still be property of the Democratic people of that day, which was, by the way, the Democratic Party. I addressed issues of that magnitude. When the church is silent, then we're not really living out our creed. Remember, and you do, of course, I'm being rhetorical when I say it, the church has a responsibility to be the light, to be the salt. And if we lose what our definition is, according to those that serve a Judeo-Christian belief system, Christ says, then we're good for nothing other than to be thrown on the ground, and the feet of men will actually begin to walk on us. So when I hear the narrative that we shouldn't be engaged, I often ask those individuals, what would have happened had we not had the Quaker Church engaged? We never would have had an Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
We never would have had a Frederick Douglass. We never would have had a Martin Luther King. I think it's silly. it's naive at best, and unfortunately, it doesn't show a lack of intelligence for those that have that argument.
And when you say that you have a congregation of various ethnic groups, 23, 22 different ethnic groups, worshiping together there, that is a visual that, in my estimation, progressive liberals do not see coming from a conservative conversation, from a conservative viewpoint. They believe from what I have seen, they believe that only they can perform that type of fellowship between human beings. And too many times, Pastor, what I've seen also is that black folks and Latinos who once were close in this country, there has been a purposeful design to keep those separated. Have you seen that? Because I do applaud you on what you're doing, because it takes courage, first of all, in this political climate. What do you say about it?
No, of course I do. And again, forgive me. I hope I'm not shamelessly promoting this. I'm not. I don't.
No, I want you to give your website. I want you to give your website. Tell us everything about you. Tell us how to get a hold of it.
Yeah, I would love for you and your audience to see it. Again, I really literally address those. I mean, your questions are phenomenal, and I'm not given to flattery. I'm not just thinking. But when I hear the left speak of what we should and should not do, it's interesting because the fact that they're speaking it, they're actually doing it themselves. Now, they may not share a theological concept that I do, but the moment that you say you can't do something, by default, you've actually done the very thing that you shouldn't do.
Right.
So, again, for me, it's very, very basic logic. And the moment we're silent, then by default, we are actually turning over our responsibility to someone else. My father, he's deceased now, he often had a statement, and that statement went something like this: if you have the power to change, then you will never have the right to complain. If you complain and you don't do anything about it, then you don't have any rights at all.
Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought. I want you to continue
Sure.
after the break. Stay with me. I'm on with Pastor Aubrey Shines in Tampa. We'll return. C.L. Bryant Show in just a couple of minutes. I'm CL, and this is the CL Bryant Show. On with me is someone who I have a feeling is going to be a regular on the show, and I really have enjoyed the conversation that I'm having with Pastor Aubrey Shines. He's in Tampa, Florida, and he has a ministry that does transcend the ethnicity of the worshipers. And Pastor, I know that you have mentioned to me that you have had things on Breitbart and of course on other outlets as well. Andrew was a friend of mine, and he was in my film, the last film, Runaway Slave, the last film that he did, Runaway Slave. I'm going to send you an autographed copy of that. But tell us of how to get a hold of your work. Is there a website? Is there a Facebook page? Twitter? Tell us how to get a hold of you. Get your thoughts. Pastor Shines. Yeah, there he is. Okay, Pastor?
Yes.
Okay. Pastor, I don't know if you heard me. Did you hear me?
No, I couldn't. I didn't. I so apologize.
Okay, that's okay. Andrew Breitbart was a friend of mine, and I he was in my film, The Runaway Slave. And you can just Google that on just Google CL Bryant. Just Google CL Bryant. And
Sure.
It was the last film, of course, that he did. I'm going to send you an autographed copy of the film, because you've told me that you've had things on Breitbart and other outlets throughout the country. Tell people how to get a hold of your work on your website, Facebook, Twitter. How do we do that?
Oh, okay, sure. First, I got to thank you for doing that. I'm a big fan of. I didn't even know all of what you just shared with me. But with that being said, thank you in advance. I would love for your audience to go out. I just did a piece on Breitbart, by the way. We shot through the roof with their metrics. An interview that I conducted with Jerome Hudson there, their staff writer. Come out to our Facebook page at Bishop Aubrey Shines. I did a couple pieces. I believe your audience would love it. I would love for you to see it and just give me a response, a thumbs up, a thumbs down. It's probably one of the best 4-minute pieces I've done on Hillary Clinton. And again, it's shot through the roof with their metrics. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump himself retweeted and thanked me for it. It's really, really been good. I've been on the campaign with Mr. Trump, opening up across the country. And again, I'm really excited about what I'm seeing happen, especially in our poor communities that are black, white, and Hispanic in this nation.
Is there, in your estimation, has there been a design? This is something that we talk about around these parts all the time, and evidently you must be engaged in the process of changing the way this dynamic will work. But has there been a design in the last 60 years, in your estimation, to keep certain groups of people at odds with one another for whatever nefarious purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Of course it's been nefarious. And again, I coined it right in that 4-minute video. Here you have, for the last 7 decades, a concerted effort by the Democratic Party to make sure that even though trillions of dollars have been pumped into certain poor communities, that being, for the most part, primarily black, it's a systemic problem that actually transcends even the last 7 decades. And as I point out, you're talking about a party that gave you lynching, the KKK, gave you Jim Crow laws, gave you Roe v. Wade. It gave you every national negative entity that we've ever experienced in America. It's come from one party, the party that, by the way, Hillary Clinton is a part of, endorsed by, called Senator Byrd, her mentor. Again, you're talking about a KKK Klansman leader. And again, these issues, as you know, are never spoke of in our national media. Why? 91% of that national media is driven by left ideologues. When this information is then shared, as, again, conversations you and I are having, I literally have these conversations with our church on any given Sunday. And again, not ashamed to do so. We're getting great traction from it. We see growth as a result of it. And again, we're in the dialogue of shaping and reshaping our culture, and we are exposing this type of bigotry in our nation, where it comes from, its history, its origin, its etymology, and we're having a lot of success doing it. And I'm seeing, my friend, a lot of buyer's remorse, especially from those who supported Barack Hussein Obama, in the black community especially, a lot of buyer's remorse, and we believe we're having an impact on either suppressing that vote and or changing their vote to come back to the party that gave you Abraham Lincoln, that is the GOP party.
The type of education that you are offering is incredibly important in these perilous times that we live in. The 900-pound gorilla in the American living room is exactly what you and I are talking about. Michelle, I want you to get the bishop's address so that I can send. I'm going to send you an autographed copy of Runaway Slave. Everybody is in it, from Dr. Thomas Sowell to Glenn Beck, and of course my dear friend Andrew Breitbart. I certainly look forward to talking to you again, Bishop. And it has been, this is a fine, Michelle. I really enjoy talking to you. Now, got to have you on for a little bit longer the next time, because there are some areas of discussion that I really believe that we can speak to in a coherent way, whereas people are engaged, and will offer them the bridge to conversation as far as this is concerned. God bless you and God keep you, man. Give us the Facebook again. Give us your Facebook again. How do we go there?
Sure. To come out to Bishop Aubrey Shines, or go out to our website at glorytoglory.org, or pull up my name, aubreyshines.com. Either three will take you to every area of our social media. I look forward to being with you again. I think you're doing a fantastic job. And again, I look forward to the time that we can share again with you.
I'm in Chicago. I'm in Tampa often. In fact, I'll be coming through there during the Christmas holidays. I'll look you up. We'll talk.
I look forward to it. I really do, and I mean that with all of my heart. Thanks again for having me.
God bless you. Bye now. Yes, that, my friends, is what ministry is needing to be about. Ministry is more than just glory, hallelujah, and we can't wait till Jesus comes anymore. You know why? Because we have to live here in the meantime. I'm going to talk to you more about that when I return.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening and welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show. Well, we're on the home stretch now, and of course we are broadcasting throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. That would be America. And of course we are live here in studio in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier. And you folks there in Wilmington, North Carolina, we certainly do want to thank you for welcoming us aboard there in North Carolina. Joining me now is someone that all of you North Carolinians should be familiar with. He is Dallas Woodhouse, and all of you know him as Party Boss there in North Carolina for his outspoken stance on why we should pull together in this presidential election. Dallas, welcome to the C.L. Bryant Show.
Mr. Bryant, I'm so pleased to be with you.
It is my pleasure to have you on, sir, a fellow Republican and someone who is down with the cause of electing DJT, Donald J. Trump, to the office of president. I see that you're running into some knuckleheads up there who really don't think that we can win this. Tell us why you think that this is doable in North Carolina.
Well, we're going to win in North Carolina. We're going to win because Hillary Clinton is not a very attractive candidate, and African Americans are abandoning her in droves in North Carolina. They are finding anything they can do not to vote for. That subgroup is down about 20% in North Carolina in early voting, which will conclude tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and probably 60 to 70% of the vote will be concluded by that time. Democrats are actually down in early voting compared to 2012, not by a lot, but by 1,000 or 2 people. They probably will catch that up today. That was yesterday's number. But the Republicans have surged 100,000 over where they were in 2012, which, of course, was a year that we defeated Mr. Obama right after he had a convention in North Carolina.
Right. Now,
also,
yeah. Go ahead, Dallas.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's live radio. My phone hooked over to the Bluetooth. Anyway, so so look, Republicans are turning out, Democrats aren't. That's going to be an extremely close election. We have a fabulous governor in the toughest governor's race in America, Pat McCrory. He's shown excellent leadership to putting down the race riots in Charlotte, to a massive flood, and I believe we're going to get him to re-election, and I believe that Senator Burr will win. So we are the center of the political universe in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
3 incredibly big races.
North Carolina has been here these last 2 cycles in presidential elections, the center, seriously, of the political universe.
3 cycles, 08, 12, and then this one, yeah.
Absolutely right. Now, tell me this, Dallas, about these fire bombings. What's going on with that? I see something happen down there in Charlotte. Who's behind that, in your estimation?
Well, I don't know who's behind it. Now, today we had some vandalism at one of our offices, actually, in Alamance County, North Carolina, kind of in the center of the state. That was some nasty graffiti, and that's vandalism. And we were over here tonight cleaning it up. I just finished an event, really kind of cool. A bus, Women for Trump, stopped and helped clean up and get the graffiti off. While that's unacceptable, it is not near to what we had when we had one of our offices burned to the ground in Hillsborough, North Carolina.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was really a horrific attack that could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
And that firebomb actually went in under a couch where volunteers and people are quite often known to stack out. And you know, sir, that in these campaign times, you get close to elections, people work at all kinds of hours.
Yeah.
And there are certainly parts of that office where there's just no way you could know whether somebody's there or not.
That was horrific. That was horrific.
It really was. And And look, a lot of Democrats condemn that. I don't believe the other side represents that either. But it has caused us significant trouble in that, I have 100 offices in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And you spend time worrying about security and safety and talking to volunteers when you need to be turning out the vote.
Dallas, tell us about the under the radar vote. Tell us about the under the radar vote that America may not be seeing in Florida, North Carolina. And I understand that even Michigan, a blue state historically, is in play right now. Donald Trump is actually turning the tide in America. Does it remind you of 1980, if you're a historian of politics, when Reagan and Carter were neck and neck? And I want you to save that answer. Can you stay with me through the break? I'd like for you to speak to that, to speak to the under the radar.
Yes, I realize you got to pay the bills. So.
Okay, hold on for me, Dallas, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Listen, folks, we're on with Dallas Woodhouse. You have seen him on Fox. You've seen him all over the place here telling us about the good news of the Republican Party and what we should be about in this election cycle as far as electing someone who will bring change for sure to Washington, D.C. Donald J. Trump. We'll be back with Dallas Woodhouse, GOP party chair, party boss, when we return. CL, back with you, and on the line with me from North Carolina is GOP boss there in North Carolina, Dallas Woodhouse. And when we left, I had asked a question that I really would like for you to speak to, Dallas, and that is the under-the-radar vote. You spoke about it in the context of the black vote and perhaps even younger people, but people don't really see that there is a groundswell. The polls are tightening, and I actually think that Trump is ahead. Tell us about the unseen vote, that person who at the water cooler who may be voting for Trump that we don't see. Tell us about your take on that. Dallas?
Yes.
Yes, did you hear the question? Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not. I did not hear you back from the break. I apologize.
Okay. Tell us about that under the radar voter that very well.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I appreciate your question. I don't know how to answer that, but I got to tell you something. It ain't very under the radar here.
Tell me.
They're lined up out the door to vote for Donald Trump, and the vote in the rural areas of North Carolina is astronomical for Donald Trump. And for Pat McCrory and Senator Burr. And, you know, he's not going to win African Americans in North Carolina, but he's going to get a stronger percentage than we've seen in years. You know, look, my sense is he's got the momentum here and is going to capture North Carolina. I think it'll be a 1 or 2 point race. That's my sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
Early voting numbers are very favorable to Republicans. You know, I hope that energy is expounded across America.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to tell you a little bit about what the Democrats do here in North Carolina.
Okay.
They are a bunch of doggone race baiters.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they are. Hillary Clinton got out there and talked about the Klan. You know, we've been accused of suppressing the vote. Look, we've had a little debate in North Carolina about early voting. You know, like, we have some people that don't think we ought to vote on Sundays. North Carolina has one of the longest early voting periods in America, 17 days. And we have...
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I mean, I think early voting is fine. I think you can have some disagreements about particular details. I mean, some of our people don't like that we vote on Sunday. Okay, they just don't. That's not a partisan thing. I don't think it's just a difference culturally, and that's fine. But it's just so funny that even with our pushing back and having some disagreement on minor details, they accuse us of suppressing the vote. We've suppressed the vote so bad that 330,000 additional people have voted early, as compared to 2012, and we still have 2 days of early voting left. And they go around and talk about the Klan and just all this kind of obnoxious stuff.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you something, when it comes to the Obama coalition, white liberals, minorities, young people, they're just not that into her.
No.
They're just not.
No, they're not.
And,
they're not excited about her at all.
They're fear-monger and race bait.
Yeah, and it's the emotionalism. It's the emotionalism that has kept that voting bloc. It is the fear, and as you said, race baiting, that has kept that voting bloc intact up until now. And I think it's falling apart now that the age of Obama is over, Dallas. I think that tactic is about to play out with Hillary Clinton. She may.
Well, here's the other thing I would say. Obama came here the other day in North Carolina, went to UNC Chapel Hill, did a big rally there, had 15,000 people there, nice, pretty pictures. But, of course, George McGovern and Mike Dukakis could have gotten 15,000 people out there, too. But, I mean, let's just be honest. Obama is a unique political talent, great retail politician. And when he comes to campaign for her, I mean, it just looks horrible for her. Because she is not him. She's
right.
close to him, you know. And,
right.
I may disagree with his policies, but I can see sort of the attractiveness of his political talent. And she just doesn't have that. And it's reflected in Democrats' lack of enthusiasm in early voting in North Carolina.
Well, because of that, I do believe that she is going to fail. I do believe we need to get used to saying and be glad that we're going to be able to say President Trump. I am going to ride that train until it stops at the White House. Now, let me ask you, it gets about a minute and a half here. Let me ask you this about that governor's race. What would cause your attorney general to do what he has done and basically turn on his own state by running against a governor who was defending you all in your Constitution? What made him do that?
Well, he's a Democrat and he's a liberal, and the Constitution only matters when they want it to matter. And he is an old school liberal, but he has been weak on crime. And look, I mean, it's difficult when you're the governor of a state like North Carolina, and the governor is extremely high profile in our state, and the Democrats have been zeroed in on him for 4 years. But what we have seen over the past 6 months especially is in tough times, strong leadership. We've had the worst flooding North Carolina's ever had. I mean, it's really horrific what has happened in North Carolina due to the hurricane. And the governor has called out kind of something interesting, because I just kind of happen to know you're in that hurricane alley is like we are.
Yeah, Louisiana, yeah, man.
Totally revamp the way we rate hurricanes. And the reason is we totally rate hurricanes on wind. We don't rate that they can come and put a foot and a half of rain on you and kill a bunch of people through floods. We don't take that into account in the rating system. He thinks that ought to change, and a lot of meteorologists agree with him.
Dallas, hold that right there. Hold that right there. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. I'm CL. CL, back to close it out. I had to say goodbye to our friend Dallas Woodhouse there in North Carolina, but we do wish them well. It is a state that DJT has to have. Donald J. Trump has to have. We've talked to Tampa. We've talked to people around the country tonight, and this has been, yes, we've talked to our good friend Mike Johnson, who looks to be positioning himself very well in the race that he's in to fill the seat of outgoing Congressman John Fleming. And, of course, John Fleming is acquitting himself very well in his race for Senator David Vitter's seat. Folks, I don't know if you saw the debate, the senatorial debate the other night, but it was a sight to behold. It really was. For a little bit there, the moderator was losing grip on all of them. They all wanted to team up on David Duke and beat him about the head and neck. But you know what, folks, let me tell you something. As angry as people like Al Sharpton and David Duke and Minister Farrakhan can make us, it is still a country where you have free speech, at least for now. And if Donald Trump is elected President of the United States, that free speech will continue for Al Sharpton, Black Lives Matter, David Duke, and people like myself, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and, of course, my good friend, Glenn Beck. I don't know, a lot of you people are falling out with Glenn, but Glenn's still a good friend. And usually Glenn's right. But I made that point to say this. If Hillary Clinton becomes President of the United States, that right will be challenged for those who speak out against her. Do you understand me? Right now, everyone who have differing opinion, black, white, crazy or not, have a right to go ahead and be who they are in America. But those of us of a conservative persuasion will lose a distinct opportunity and equality if progressive liberalism takes hold. You go vote. Vote. I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day, and I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our mind. And until I'm able to speak to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
To keep freedom alive, and to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side, and the bond will never be torn.